Hi, my name is Zoe, and today we're going to talk about the Taurus ascendant. Taurus risings naturally come across as very grounded. There's something about them that is just very harmonious. Your ascendant is the most important part of your natal chart, so make sure that you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, make sure that you get a free natal chart. I'm going to post a link below to that so you can find out what your ascendant is. Your ascendant is how you go through life. It is the style in which you do things. It's your pizzazz. It's your signature. It is how you see the world around you. It is the way that people see you. It is the lens through which you see the world. What kind of goggles are you wearing when you look at things, and how do you do things? That is the ascendant. It is how you birth things. It is how you start things. It is how, there's basically the ascendant is the essence of who you are. So make sure you know what that is. And if you're a Taurus ascendant, you're in the right place. If not, stay tuned for my videos because I'm very excited. I'm going to be doing all of the ascendants. But today's Taurus. Taurus ascendant. They come across as more chill, like they don't want to overcomplicate things. They tend to do things in a simple way. They're not going to try to jump through hoops to do a certain thing. If they have an easy way to do it, they're going to do it. Keep it simple, plain and simple. They're always trying to kind of live this simple life just through their actions. Tauruses tend to be creative, and they're always trying to make things feel good. They're very sensual beings. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus, which is the planet of love, beauty, and that shines through their lifestyle. A lot of Taurus risings are artists, designers, authors, musicians, models, and they tend to take their time more than most signs do. They don't need to rush it. They take things at their own pace. They don't dive into things headfirst the way Aries risings do. They tend to plan things out, then they like having a foundation to start off of. So they don't just do things for the sake of doing them. They don't just want to take a risk out of the blue. Taurus risings tend to have a system or a process. Taurus archetypes include the earth spirit, the pagan, the silent one, the elf, the solid citizen, the fae. The Taurus risings might weigh their words a little more carefully or think before they talk. But a Taurus rising is always going to prefer pleasure and fun over hard work. And sometimes for them, that is the same thing. They both love pleasure, but also hard work. So that kind of goes hand in hand. And they can find pleasure in hard work. But overall, if they had to choose, for Taurus, it's about the sensuality. It's about the pleasure. It's about the enjoyment of the situation. So for them, they're really wanting to make the most of every moment. And that's kind of how they approach life. They really see the beauty in their life. Taurus is like smelling the flowers. They like feeling at peace. And they do not like people who fuck with their peace. Taurus always gets really misunderstood. They aren't this super solid, stable rock that just needs discipline and security or money. That's actually much more of a Capricorn thing when you think about it. They are earth spirits. They like to be grounded in nature, enjoying the moments. So it's not that they're stubborn, it's just that they like their peace and they don't like that change as much. And it's not that they hate change, it's just that they have their own pace of doing things. They have their own timing. So sometimes change happens differently for them, and they're not always on board when everyone else is. Taurus rising isn't going to force their beliefs or opinions onto other people. They're not preachy. But that doesn't mean that they don't form solid opinions. And remember, if there are certain things here you don't resonate with, that's fine. You have an entire natal chart that makes us very unique human beings. But this, at its core, is what Taurus is about. Once they take a stance on something, it's very rare that they change it. And that's also where that stubbornness comes in, right? We see them as stubborn, but the truth is they just don't necessarily want to change their point of view. Taurus is a fixed sign. So Taurus often finds themselves doing things in phases, and they might stay in one phase for a really long time before transitioning. When a Taurus rising wants to quit their job, they don't just say, I quit. One thing that a lot of Taurus risings actually struggle with is that they become too comfortable in one phase that it becomes very hard to transition out of it. So they might do something longer than necessary because that is what they're used to, or out of habit, or because it's safe, even when they know that they should move on. For example, they hate their job, but then they stay because they are used to it and it's more secure. Or they stay in a relationship that isn't working and refuse to break up, even though they need to break up and they know that it's failing. Wherever Venus is in your natal chart will tell you a lot about what areas of life you will be dealing with this. If it's in the 6th house, it could be something with health, like living with a health problem and kind of getting so comfortable living in that problem, or dealing with a coworker and not really wanting to rock the boat, so you stay in an uncomfortable situation with a coworker. Or if it's in the 5th house, it could be a creative project. Taurus risings need to know when to let go of certain things, but also when to keep going. According to evolutionary astrology, it is likely that if you're a Taurus rising, you faced a lot of trauma with courage in a past life. You likely had to go through a huge battle or a big ordeal that was so challenging, and in this life you just want to relax and enjoy the moment, and you don't want to have to worry at all about anything that's complicated or complex. You just want the easy, simple life. You want to relax, enjoy, recover. That is what the Taurian energy is asking for. So anytime they're doing something, there's always this kind of underlying need for, how can I decompress with this? How can I simplify this? How can I make this even more, in the moment? And that's how they strive. That's how they work. Taurus rising tends to be charming and enticing. They're usually attractive and sensual. They don't have to be super loud to appear confident. The reason people talk about Taurus needing money is because it rules the 2nd house, which is the house that values finances and wealth. Money is security, okay? And that's what Taurus wants. Taurus wants security. Material wealth isn't some concept or abstract idea. No, it's actually tangible. And that certainty is why Taurus likes it. Without that security, Tauruses don't feel like they can chill as easily. When people just meet a Taurus rising, they may not see that stubbornness at first. It just becomes more obvious over time. They learn about their routines, their preferences, their styles, and they start to get it. Taurus has their favorite thing on the menu. They know what they like. Why fuck with that? If it works, why change it, right? Taurus risings don't have to be wealthy or have a lot of nice things, but they do need security to be able to relax. Taurus risings are not gold diggers. I actually hate that word gold digger. It's such a bullshit term, but unfortunately it exists. And a lot of the time we think of Tauruses as gold diggers, but they're not, okay? They just want to be safe. And safety is a tangible, physical thing for them. But deep down, it doesn't really have anything to do with the money because it's about an internal need. The closer they are to nature without needing to get all fancy, the better. That's why a lot of Taurus energy doesn't thrive in the big city. I was living in NYC and I'm a Taurus moon and sun, and that was a lot for my Taurus energy. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. Finally feeling that peace. But it is definitely something that a Taurus rising struggles with a lot, is they need to be closer to nature. And they're not necessarily at their best when they're in a really, really, really loud, chaotic environment. It's just not for them. A Taurus rising is likely to be more successful on a remote island or in the middle of nowhere than in a major city. Remove all the unnecessary steps. I live with a Gemini, and she is always trying to overcomplicate things because that's how her mind works. And oh my God, it just drives me crazy. So for you Taurus risings, I feel you. I feel you as someone who has a lot of that in my chart as well. But yeah, Taurus risings tend to love to listen to music, They might like gardening, connecting with friends that they can count on, living in an environment that they're really familiar with, making art. They're sensory beings. They like to touch things and feel things. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. Taurus is anti-drama. They want things simple and easy. When they do change, it actually has to make a difference. Other people just know they can depend on a Taurus rising. Taurus risings are usually realistic. They see through bullshit. They aren't naive. When making plans, Taurus keeps it real. My foot is falling asleep. Why? Why are you doing this to me right now? I need you. I need you. But Taurus isn't really a big planner in the sense that they're ambitious. They would much rather enjoy their life than seek it elsewhere. Taurus risings are often the ones keeping it going, even if they don't make it a big deal. Some might say that Taurus risings are lazy because they see this love for comfort and luxury. But that doesn't mean that the Taurus rising is not a hard worker and that they don't earn the things that they have. They just know how to have a good time and make the most of it. They tend to care deeply about their loved ones, and they don't give up. Determination is a Taurus rising's middle name. As a Taurus ascendant, they have a Scorpio descendant. Scorpio is intense. They can make relationships very emotional. That means that jealousy and envy might be a problem in their relationships. Taurus risings are truthful. Taurus risings take their time initiating things, but once they're determined, they are unstoppable. Sometimes Taurus energy can cause them to be too grounded in reality, but not everything is grounded in reality, so that can work against them. They might miss out on a romance or magical moments in life come up and they just can't appreciate that because they're so focused on the tangible, the realistic stuff that they don't really understand the fantasy and the how to romanticize things in their life. Not everything is certain. Taurus can definitely get caught up in their own insecurities. What if questions are like the bane of their existence. The possibility of not being secure in one area can drive them crazy. Taurus risings tend to build up their anger over time. They can tolerate a lot before it gets to them, but when a Taurus rising is really angry, it's pretty obvious to everyone around them. Taurus risings are naturally skeptical. You'll often have to convince them to believe in something, especially if their mind is already made up. A lot of Taurus risings deal with jealousy in their love life, and when someone insults their appearance, they tend to remember that person. Taurus risings aren't usually super competitive. If things feel like too much of a contest, then Taurus risings don't usually feel like it's worth their time. Of course, wherever Venus is in your natal chart will change everything. Taurus is very sensual. That can be in the bedroom, but also in everyday life choices. The choices they make, the way they go about things, textures, feelings, vibes, these all matter to a Taurus. They prefer quality over quantity. They tend to enjoy food and tastings. Taurus is all about smelling and tasting and savoring. The mood is important. They have to be in the mood. They're not going to surprise you with their tastes, but their taste buds are powerful. There's a very playful energy surrounding a Taurus rising. They tend to have a very vibrant inner child. A lot of Taurus risings can come across younger than their actual age, or they have a lot of youthful energy. Peter Pan must have been a Taurus rising. Taurus is always fine-tuning their environment. They value beauty and they collect things in their own way. Their Venus placement can actually shed a lot of light on this. For example, if their Venus is in the 11th house, they might collect friends. Or if it's in the 3rd house, it could be books. Or, of course, the 2nd house could be material wealth or money. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments section below. Like and subscribe to my channel. And also just let me know if you agree with this. Does this resonate with you? I would love to know in the comment section. If you know a Taurus rising, does this sound like them? I would love to hear all about it. That's how I learn and that's how I grow. Book a reading with me on my website, zoethepsychic.com. I offer intuitive astrology readings as well. and I hope to see you soon. Bye.